students. Today I am going to give a brief lecture on diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is one of the commonest disease which is a great medical challenge worldwide, not only worldwide, in India also. So to understanding this physiology behind diabetes mellitus is very important. Coming to diabetes mellitus, it has got two types: type 1, type 2. Type 1 is characterized by there is lack of insulin secreted by pancreas. Because of lack of insulin, there is a problem. There is a high amount of blood sugar in the blood, and as a result of that, various complications. That is a very minimal part of percentage of people are affected with type 1 diabetes. I am not going to cover much of type 1 diabetes here. I am going to cover the type 2 diabetes, which is the most commonly seen in higher percentage worldwide. So let us see about type 2 diabetes first. Type 2 diabetes characterized by, before understanding the type 2 diabetes, we let us understand the normal physiology, how the pancreas and insulin works. Normally when we eat, the food is digested at the mouth, and then at the stomach, and then at the small intestine. Then from the small intestine, the food particles in the form of energy, they are absorbed by the villi in small intestine, and in the form of glucose it enters into the bloodstream. When the glucose particles enter into the bloodstream, when the glucose content percentage becomes high in the blood, in response to the high amount of glucose in the blood, the pancreas secretes a hormone called insulin. The work of insulin is to combine with these glucose particles and take them to the various organs, which are insulin receptors available wherever the insulin receptors available in our body. To those areas it will take the glucose. In our body, the insulin receptors are abundantly available in three important tissues. Number one, muscles all over the body, they all got insulin receptors. And then the adipose tissue, wherever the adipose tissue is available, there insulin receptors will be there. And the third one, the important one, is liver. Liver cells also have lot of insulin receptors. So what happens, the moment the insulin is secreted by the pancreas, it combines with the glucose and take this glucose to these areas for the muscles to provide muscle energy, for the adipose tissue to be stored as a fat, and to the liver, it goes to the liver. There the glucose is converted into a concentrated form of glucose, which is called as glycogen. This process is called as glycogenesis. So this storage takes place so that the body stores excess of glucose for future use. Whatever is presently needed, that much of glucose will be used. For future use, it will be stored in the form of glycogen in the liver, and in the form of adipose tissue, in the form of fat in the adipose tissue, and also in the form of glucose in the muscles. Okay. Suppose, coming to diabetes mellitus, what happens? In diabetes mellitus, actually what happens, the insulin receptors available in the muscles, in the adipose tissue, in the liver, they become inactive. They are not working properly. Because of that, after we eat, when the glucose concentration increases in the blood, of course the pancreas secretes the insulin. In spite of that, this pancreas cannot enter into this insulin they become unable to take the glucose into muscle cells, adipose tissue cells, and also to the liver cells. So what happens? The glucose remains in the bloodstream itself. So whenever you check the person, the patient, his blood glucose level will be always looked high, will be kept high, and that is what we diagnose as diabetes mellitus, because of high blood glucose level all the time in the blood. So this all happens because of the receptiveness of insulin receptors in various organs, in the muscles, in the adipose tissue, in the liver. They become failed, or they become decreased. The sensitivity, with the moment the insulin sensitivity is decreased, they are unable to take the glucose. So the glucose remains always in the blood. When the blood has got high glucose, it gives a lot of problem, because what happens when the glucose is there but it is not used by the tissue. What happens? The tissue is always send a message to the brain, we are not getting the food, and the brain tells the pancreas to secrete more insulin. Already there is high amount of insulin, as a high amount of glucose in the blood, but the brain doesn't know this, and the brain is only worked based on the information coming from the tertiary tissues, the tissues like muscles, liver cells, and adipose tissue. Their receptors are not working, but they are actually fasting. They are not able to get the food. So the pancreas is keep on secreting insulin.